Hello Dragon Ball Super Family, I'm Legends with Team Foe x PPG, and tonight I bring you my Set 6 Frieza Prison deck list that I went X1 with at this weekend's PPG event. I decided to go with Frieza Prison this weekend due to the fact that the deck effectively prevents the combo step and functions well in a slower format. And for those unfamiliar with the concept of Prison Frieza, it's a deck that famously locks your opponent out of playing battle cards or attacking with them, a concept similar to Baby's pre-Tough Errata. It was given the nickname Prison Frieza due to the feeling of being locked into a game in which neither player could do much each turn. Let's leap into this deck list. The leader is from set 6, Frieza. It's a standard awakened leader. When your life is at 4 or less, you may draw 2 cards and flip this leader over. It's got this really annoying permanent that says you can't include battle cards with energy cost of 3 or less in your deck, which means you can't include many popular counterplays in the game. You can't include any super combos except for the new one they printed for this leader. And you can't play a lot of like the popular cards you want to play. So no early game pressure strats. It literally is meant to be a control deck. Can't even play check lances. And that its activate main, instead of having an auto draw, you get this auto once per turn. Look it up to the top 5, or look it up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 1 red extra card amongst them and add it to your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So it's pretty cool. You're just finding the extra card that fits your scenario, and then after you awaken, on the awaken side, you get the standard auto of when this card attacks. You may, or sorry, you do not get a standard auto. You get an auto that says when this card is attacked by a battle card. You may choose 1 red Frieza's army card from your hand and place it in your drop area, and then if you do, you negate that attack, and then negate the skill for the duration of the turn. So it's kind of like the Janemba auto, except you can only negate battle cards, and you can only do it once a turn. Then the activate main gets changed from adding any extra card to just drawing a card. Arguably a little bit worse of an auto on the backside since you just draw a raw card, but does let you draw into your Frieza army so you can sponsor that negate on the backside. Going to the deck, this is one of the very rare decks that I do play at 60 cards, simply because I found versus our other control decks, I was finding myself decking out versus those decks. Plus, there's a lot of tools, and being able to pick and choose what you add to your hand on the front side means you're going to play with a few more options than normal. And you do filter through your deck very fast. So, starting off, we have the new super combo that was given to this deck. It's a super combo only in the fact that it's a 0 for 10k. If this card would be removed from your combo area, it's removed from the game, so you can't even use it for overarm later. And it's probably the most limiting super combo I've ever read. Its auto says limit 1 if your leader is a Frieza BR, which of course we are. When you use this card in a combo during your opponent's turn and your life is at 3 or less, so there's so many conditions for this card to be used. Then the next time you would activate a red extra card this turn, it costs 1 red specified cost less. So you can actually play your red extra cards for free. And then most annoyingly about this super combo is that it's not even a Frieza's army, so you can't search for it off Scouter and you can't discard it for your leader effect. They really, really wanted to make sure this card didn't break this deck, and boy did Bandai do that correctly. Then we have actually the best addition to this deck since set 6 is Frost for the Clan. It's a 2 mana unison. It's got the blocker skill, which is really important. For the front side, you can chump block a lot of early game leader swings, keeping your health high. And this is one of those leaders I actually do not want to awaken with early. You want to build up as much advantage on the front side as you can. So oftentimes you do want to block as many hits as you can. It's got a +1. I mean, both of these effects are insane. +1 if your leader card is this. Effectively, you can look up to 4 cards from the top of your deck and then add 1 extra card from it to your hand and shuffle your deck. So it lets you redo your leader effect effectively. Then it's -2 is also an activate main if your leader card is this. You can add up to 2 or more red extra cards from your drop area to your hand. So that's pretty cool. A lot of times you're going to be adding from the drop area. You can be adding stuff like Cabba's Awakening or Wolffangfist. Anything you can really play for free so that you can supplement this -2. One of the issues of this deck throughout the history of being this deck is that it doesn't have enough energy to activate all of its extra cards. So that now we go into this unison game, this deck has tools to play cards for free, and of course the super combo gives it even more ways to defend without having to pay extra energy. So into our hard negates, or this deck's version of a floodgate, we have some paralysis techniques, a full playset of them. Counterattack, negate the attack if your leader is a red Frieza's army card, which of course we are. choose your opponent's leader cards and all of their battle cards and reduce. They get negative 5k power for the duration of the turn. So this is really cool. You can actually effectively zero, or you can kill a lot of tokens with this, or you can reduce the Zamasu tokens to half. You can kill the Zamasu eliminators after your opponent tries to swing with their leader. You can also reduce your opponent's leader to make it so their leader can't even deal damage for the rest of the turn if they choose to swing with the battle card first. There's a lot of creative applications for this card. Of course, if you chain multiple of them back to back to back, you can actually wipe whole boards. And even more so if you pair it with a new card introduced to this deck. I actually hated this card at first, and then I loved it, and then I hated it, and now we're back to loving it. It's a 1 energy counter attack, negate the attack, and then if your leader card is this, choose all of you and your opponent's battle cards and leader cards, and they get minus 10k power for the turn. So of course that's just another field-wide reduction. However, one of the drawbacks of this card is it also reduces your leader's power, making him super susceptible to unison swings and any new battle cards that come into play. So of course you generally want to pair this with the paralysis technique to get full board-like reductions. You can actually clean up full boards between two of these. Moving further into our negate package, we play a full suite of Wolffangfist, simply because it is a negate we can use for free. Oftentimes we will maintain this Frost unison on the field, and we can use it to keep adding Wolffangfist, keep using them for free. Wolffangfist is also one of the better early game negates, especially on turn 1, you charge a mono red. Wolffangfist is one of the better negates you can use to 1-for-1 your opponent's battle cards and remove them off the field. This deck does very well in reducing your opponent's battle cards' power, so through the use of Wolffangfist and some of these other cards I have shown before or after, you can remove a lot of battle cards just by reducing their power to 0. After Wolffangfist, we have a set of After Image Technique. After Image Technique, just another sparking negate, another way to play a negate, or a counter attack rather, without having to pay energy. Of course, if you have Sparking 5 and then counter attack if your leader card is red, choose up to one of your cards and it gains 40k power for the battle. So effectively comboing out an attack for free. And then of course you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 10k power for the turn. Therefore adding further to reducing different battle cards' attacks. So if you reduce a huge battle card, say like a Bardock Great Ape, Raider's Warcry with this on one of the earlier swings, and then later you can combo out of something else with an After Image Technique and use the minus 10k and the Raider's Warcry, effectively removing it from the field. And then even further defense, we have a set of Corrin's Tower Secret Medicine. It's just an activate battle. If your leader card is red, choose up to one of your cards, and it gets 5k power for the turn, so it's effectively a red bean, and then it has a side effect where it says, if it's your opponent's turn, choose up to one of your opponent's battle card, or one of your opponent's cards, ignoring barrier, and this gets minus 5k power for the battle, which is pretty cool, because you can minus 5k a unison mid-combat. For stuff like the Demigra unison, stuff for Demigra unison that's low on counters that hasn't activated its effect yet, you can actually take it down a counter and they can't dodge it with the passive. So that's pretty cool. But more importantly, it just gives you a bean effect to really get out of super wide fields. We play a full suite of Frieza's Deathball. Deathball is probably one of the best cards for this deck. It's an activate battle. If your leader card is red, choose up to one of your leader cards and or battle cards, gains 15k power for the duration of the battle. And then of course, if all of your energy is red, which it is, when you activate this card, you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards or leader cards, and it gets minus 10k power for the duration of the battle. So this card, paired in tandem with your super combo, gives you a sudden burst of 35k combo power out of nowhere against leader swing, so that's pretty cool. And one of the trickier challenges when we were trying to figure out how to combo attacks in this deck was how we could use our super combo effectively. That's really why we included this Corrin's Tower Sensu Bean, or Secret Medicine, and the Frieza Deathball. It's just something we can pair with our super combo. Obviously, otherwise you just want a super combo and use the extra mana for your next negate. Moving forward, since we can't play very many effective battle cards, we did have to find creative ways to combo in our deck. Corrin's Tower Sensu Bean was one of them. The next one we found was Cease to Exist. It's got a permanent where you can activate the Activate Battle for free. And the Activate Battle, it just turns this card into a 0 for 5k. It just gives one of your cards, leader cards, or battle cards 5k power for the duration of the battle, so it's effectively just a 5k combo power that you can search off the front side of your leader, and you can search with Frost for the clan. It also does have an activate main that came up during the Icarus format, where you can choose up to two of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and reduce them by 25k for the turn, so you can effectively snipe a Bojack, an Annihilator, a Lord Slug, an Invoker, Vegeta. The list goes on and on. But it does let you kill 2 battle cards for 3 mana, which you might think is kind of steep for the deck, but if you consider the fact that 3 mana is taking out or 2 cards that cost 2 or more mana each to create, then you're actually going positive on the trade. And of course, more effective ways to combo as extra cards. We played a full suite of Cabba's Awakenings. It's just activate battle. Choose up to one of your red cards. It gets plus 6k power for the duration of the battle. Of course, this card functions much better as a defensive card, and this deck, as a purely defensive deck, turns Cabba's Awakenings into effectively super combos versus decks that just combo once. So if your opponent's leader is also 15k, you're 15k on the backside, and they choose to combo to 20k, you can just Cabba's Awakening and trade the card for their card, and you'll out-combo their attack. For 0 mana. So like I said, Cabba's Awakening ceases to exist. Great cards to pick up with your Frost for the Clan -2. It's effectively picking up 2 combo pieces. Especially when you're going in for the kill, you can just pick up combo power to add to your battle card as they go in. Some of the more prison-like effects of the deck. Live to Fight Another Day. We only play 2 copies of this because effectively you're only going to resolve this on turn 3 and 4, especially if you're the one going second. If you go first, you can't even resolve this card until turn 4. But it's got this activate main if your leader card is this. Well, it's if your leader card is a red Frieza's army, so I guess red Rolly could play it, but it wouldn't. And your opponent has 3 or more energy, which is a ridiculous requirement. You draw 1 card, and for the duration of your opponent's next turn, your opponent can't play battle cards with 20k power or less unless they discard 3 cards. It's a heavy cost, so you effectively buy an opponent's turn, like buy a turn from your opponent, assuming they have a clear field. And since you're using negates that like effectively reduce the power of your opponent's battle cards early game between Wolffangfist and all of these reduction cards, you can clear your opponent's battle cards pretty easily when you go into Live to Fight Another Day. Next we have a set of Violent Rays. I'm currently using my other Violent Rays in a different deck, so please don't mind me. Violent Rays is a 1 energy red negate that allows you to discard another card, and then if you negates the attack, you may discard another card, then choose battle cards or unisons of 20k power or more, and one of them will not be able to attack for the rest of the turn, effectively locking your opponent out of one of those. Pretty cool versus Icarus in this format, because they play a lot of big beaters. Probably not that relevant next format, unless Sin Shenron comes back in with its huge 30ks, and then Violent Rays will be good again. A card I definitely regretted playing this weekend, rounding out the extra cards in my deck, are New Model Scouter. So New Model Scouter is a 1 energy red extra card. Lets you look at the top 7 of cards of your deck and add up to 2 Frieza's armies amongst them to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So this is one of the few cards that actively read +1 if you can hit it off the top 7. Of course, this would be great to synergize with the leader effect, where you can discard those extra Frieza's armies as effectively negates versus battle cards. And it is an ideal turn 1 play, since you don't do anything turn 1. Your opponent's not really going to go in on you. So you can tutor one of these out and find 2 Frieza's army and just go a hard +1. It also sets up, it puts an extra card on your drop, which is relevant later. And then turn 3, 4, and then 6 and 7 is a great time to use this card as well, in case you don't want to use Live to Fight Another Day. You can burn a mana efficiently to find more cards. I did hate this card though, because it's a do nothing card effectively. Sometimes it only hits 1 Frieza armies, occasionally it hits no Frieza's armies. So if I were to play this deck again, I probably wouldn't play New Model Scouter in the deck again. And some of the things that we can scout with our Model Scouter: we play 4 copies of Frieza the Finisher. Frieza the Finisher is a 7-drop, but effectively a 5 or a 6-drop with double strike. It's got this permanent. If you have 5 or more extra cards in your drop area, this card becomes a 6-drop. And then if you have 10 or more extra cards in your drop area, this card becomes a 5-drop. It's got this cool auto when this card is played. If your leader is this, effectively, you can choose all of your opponent's battle cards with 25k power or less, ignoring barrier, and KO them. So it's pretty cool, especially versus Icarus or Invoker or something like that, assuming they don't counterplay you. And then it evolves into one of our finishers. Our next card that can also evolve into our finisher is Frieza, Irate Emperor. I actually hated this card. It's a 1 for 10k combo. It's pretty much just another Frieza army that you can get with your Frieza Scouter. You can discard both of these for your auto, of course. Its activate main is you pay 5 red. If you have 5 or more extra cards in the drop area, you can play this from your hand, simply as an evolve target into your boss. And then it's got this auto. If you combo this card and your leader is this, effectively, you can choose, and you have 2 or more extra cards in the drop, you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and reduce it by 10k for the turn, or for the battle, I'm sorry. Or for the turn, actually, which allows you to get rid of battle cards. Obviously, I never used that auto, so I didn't know it. I effectively use this card as an auto to negate my opponent, or as for my leader's auto. But if I could find a different card for the rest of the turn, I would have played a different card, and I'll get to that later. For our last card that we can use for evolved targets, we play one copy of Frieza Final Showdown. This card is in the deck just to beat decks that main deck Food the Dark Banisher or find a way to get around Food the Dark Banisher. Also lets us maneuver our way around that Gogeta 8 drop that's been that thwarting 8 drop. But it's a 5 drop Frieza. Army, of course, could be used for your leader. It's got critical, double strike, actually pretty cool stats. Its downside is you kind of have to hard cast it in this deck unless you play the old Bibbidi combo. Then it's got this auto once per turn. It's a lot of text that just says you can crit a life to bloodlust one of your opponent's battle cards as it comes into play or is being played. And that's pretty cool. So it lets us bloodlust Fu as it comes into play. Bloodlust, for those who don't know, it just allows you to reduce or negate the card's effects as it's coming into play. All of these cards are in here to evolve into our Beast. Golden Frieza, Indomitable Emperor. It's an 8-drop Frieza. Army, of course, uses extra copies can be used with our leader, and it can be searched out with the Scouter. It's got EX Evolve for free, except not really. You choose 3 cards from your hand and discard them as you evolve this onto Frieza's Army. Energy cost of 7. What? Did I play this? Okay, well, good thing I never actually evolved into these, because it only evolves into this. Wow, that's cheeky. My bad for the misinformation. Well, you discard 3 and evolve it onto Frieza the Finisher, because it's even less reason to play Irate Emperor. If you're going to pick up the deck, don't pick up Irate Emperor. Instead, pick up another card I'll mention later. It's got critical, which is cool, and then the prison aspect of this card, it's got this permanent if your leader card is this. Whenever you or your opponent would try to play a 30k or lower battle card, you must crit 4 life to play that battle card as part of its cost. And then when a card is evolved into this card, you switch it back to active mode. So the standard play is you would play the 7 drop to wipe your opponent's field, swing double strike at them, setting them to 4 or less, or maybe hitting a unison if they're already at 4 or less, and then play this 8 drop on top. And from there, both of you just keep passing turn as you swing this card at your opponent's leader until the game is locked out. That's the goal of the deck. Afterwards, you just kind of have to find bombs to play on top of this that exceed 35k. Of course, there are cards that clear this that are difficult for this deck to get past with this card, such as the Boo Unison, the 8-drop Gogeta, because it's a 35k, it comes down, it swings, and then gets rid of this card. There's Kai, SCR. There's a couple outs to this card that are quite annoying. Final Flash is a decent answer, but they kind of have to get into a combo step to Final Flash, and of course there's a million tools in this deck that prevent combo steps. So Icarus, once you clear out Icarus's board and you land this card, it's very difficult for Icarus to actually deal with this card. And then, of course, for SCR, we play one copy of Frieza Army Reborn. It's a Frieza Army, so it can be searched out by Scouter. And then it's just the original OG Frieza Army, or Red SCR. It's an 8-drop, but it's effectively a 5-drop if your life is at 2 or less. You reduce this card's cost by 3. It's a quadruple strike. Its effect is actually ridiculous when you play this card. Your opponent reveals their hand. You choose any card in your opponent's hand and you send it to the discard. Then you choose all of their battle cards, ignoring barrier, and KO them. So you can kind of get that attack through. This, of course, is beyond the reach of this permanent, so you can play it on top of the permanent. The next card that we played on top of the permanent is a single copy of Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta Technique and Chain. This is kind of like a cheeky tech that I liked, simply because of the 35k red card, you just straight up tap 6 for it. After you control the game with, after you control the game with this, you're kind of just waiting to kill your opponent, so this speeds it up a little bit more, gives you a bit more defense too. It's just got a double strike, and then whenever this card or any of your opponent's cards attacks, you can choose one of your opponent's cards and reduce its power by 20k. And then if you do place this or negate this skill for the turn, so it's actually a cool way to defeat the Boo Unison, because you just leave it on the field and never attack with a battle card, and they can never attack with anything, because the moment they do, you reduce a marker off the Boo, and eventually you'll get rid of the Boo Unison. So it was just another way around that. And then I kept mentioning that I hated the Irate Emperor card. I was looking for this, actually, before the event. I would actually just play 4 copies of Super Saiyan Broly Unlimited Power. It's a Red Frieza's Army card, so of course you can Scouter it, you can discard it for your auto. It's a 0-5, unlike Irate Emperor, so it can actually be comboed for free. It's also 35k, so it goes above the Indomitable Emperor. It's got unique, critical, and double strike. Auto if your leader card is red. When this card is played, of course, you're just going to tap 6 for it. Choose up to one of your red unison cards, add 2 markers to it, super cool, and then choose up to 3 of your opponent's cards in your opponent's hand and randomly warp them until the end of their next turn, and then you swing at them for a crit. So it just speeds up the clock after you slam your Indomitable Emperor on. And of course it gives you extra battle card negates. Super fun card to play around with. I really did enjoy playing this deck this weekend. I do love control decks, as people that know me. And if you're looking for a deck that just like slams out the combo or prevents the combo step and puts your control or your mid-range playing friends into a heap, this is a great deck for it. However, it is very weak to aggro. Going to the side deck real quick, I kind of threw the side deck together last minute just from ideas I had lying around. 2 copies of Testing Opposition, of course the leader front side and the Frost can search them out. So it's kind of helpful to help with aggro, gives you a negate into a blocker. Helps defend Frost for the clan if you need to. The general gist of this side deck is gonna be anti-aggro cards. So we have 2 copies of Is That All You Got? Just a 1 mana red negate that you can discard an additional red card to to reduce two of your opponent's battle cards by 15k for the duration of the turn. Further, advancing this deck's game plan of reducing your opponent's battle cards and removing them that way. We have 2 copies of Topo, Righteous Aid, as just a floodgate for those early game aggro decks. We can discard any old extra card just to get this onto the field. It does get around our permanent, so that's kind of cool. It's one of the few floodgates we did play. I chose not to play it in the main because I didn't expect very much aggro at this event. And also, it's a battle card, so you can't really search it out. You have to hard draw it. That only really works if you're awakened, so you kind of want to just mulligan for it if you're going to side into this. And then shying away from some of the aggro decks, we're going to play some tall game deck, or any anti-tall card decks. So like SS4 or SS4 thwarting, whichever the 8-drop Gogeta is, it's 35k, the Kai SCR, stuff that we really just can't deal with in this game. We decided to play a pair of max power Kamehamehas to deal with it. That way if they get that Gogeta down, we're going to take the initial loss of 2 cards from the field, and then we max power it away to deal with it. We played a second copy of this Final Showdown Frieza to deal with Foos. We played a copy of Final Guardian as an extra way to negate in case we played against something like Invoker, which has like Apex of Power, or like any kind of hand control. We get an extra negate in the drop area. Of course, the majority of these cards, it's just like the majority of these cards, it's another red extra card that we can search off of these 2. Played a pair of Exchange of Powers. This is one of like the goofier cards I wanted to try. It's an activate battle, so it can be reduced by 1 after you use your super combo and effectively be used. It's got activate main, activate battle. Choose one. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 50k power for the turn, which is kind of cool. And then you draw cards. So you're paying 1 mana for the reduction and 1 mana to draw a card. But why we really put it in there is for those unison like finishing decks. We have this choose one of your opponent's unison cards, and it gets minus 50k power for the turn. It actually never came into the main, so this is kind of a wash. I wouldn't play this card again. Played a pair of Omen of Awakenings. Counterplay if your leader card is red and you choose one of your life and put it into the drop area. If the battle card being played is 20k power or less, you can put it in the owner's drop area instead of being played. So this is kind of my anti-invoker card. It let me hit the Rival Seeker. Also hits a lot of cheeky like 3 drops that come into that agonize your game. It hits the Raiders War Cry, and it's got this permanent. If you got a unison out with a specified cost of 2 in play, you can reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. So that's a pretty cool way to do it. It's just a 1 mana Denial of Hope. Back in the day, this was just Denial of Hope in this side deck. And then probably one of my favorite cards from this weekend, one of the better like surprise effective cards, was this King Piccolo 5 seconds to eradication. I'm pretty sure it's like from one of the useless draft boxes. But it's got Deflect, Double Strike, Barrier, so excellent versus Zamasu the Eliminator. Gets past that card beautifully. Gets past God Sealing. Gets past Frieza. It's got this permanent. If your leader card is red, your opponent cannot activate blocker skills in response to this card's attack. Super cool. Auto once per turn if your leader card is red. When this card attacks, choose up to one of your red unison cards and add a marker to it. So you can add a marker to Frost and then minus 2 Frost to pick up more cards to defend this card in your opponent's turn. And then if your opponent activates a counter, add 1 card from your life to your hand, and then you deal 1 damage to your opponent. So it's a really cool finisher, but more importantly, what I used it as is a way to deal with the Boo Unison. I could slam this into the Boo Unison and just start swinging into the Boo Unison to remove markers from it rapidly. Like I said, the win con of this deck can't deal with the Boo Unison very effectively, so this is a cool way to get rid of that. That was the entire 75 of this deck. Super fun deck to play if you enjoy control decks. If you can't stand playing 8 to 9 turns in a game, would not suggest picking this deck. It's not for you. Some changes I would make to this deck, I would definitely play the Gogeta package. I would play the 5-drop, the 6-drop fusion, and I'd play those new 5-drop or those new 5-drop Gokus and Vegetas from the King Vegeta series that came out in like set 13 or something like that. Something I would probably play 3-3-3 of in this deck. Gives you a better answer to aggro. You can turn 1 like Floodgate Negate, you can turn 2 Slam Down Frost, defend Wolffangs, and then turn 3 go into your fusion line to clear the field and stabilize a little bit. And then they have to find Heroine's Lineage or Secret Identity to really out you to keep playing the game. So that's a really cool thing to try. But I definitely urge you guys to try this deck and let me know what you think. Until then, keep an eye out. Nats is coming, or Nationals is coming up. There's an event in Dallas coming up. A lot of data to be mined for this upcoming Nationals season. I look forward to meeting and interacting with every one of you in the future. Catch you around.